Yeah, this is the second part of that building a thumb video and, adding that ripper. And, as you saw in the first video, I had cut out the thumb side plates here, and now I just put it all back together, and I'm kind of trying to lay out my the areas where I want it to be located and stop in. Basically, I'm just going to try to use the shaft to stop it. So I kind of marked them, and then I did a little bit of trigonometry to get that bolt circle that they're on. They were on a radius, and having a Bridgeport with actually a DRO on it really helped when you're trying to do bolt circles and stuff like that, and you don't have CNC. So first thing I did is I mounted the two plates back to back and decided to drill them at once. And so here you can see I just start off with a center drill to kind of accurately locate the hole location so the drills don't wander. These center drills are a real good idea to use first, and I just go and move all the X and Y to the locations on the bolt circle, and just put a little mark there with the center drill to guide the larger drills. So then the next thing I do is I'm gonna move up to like a little bit bigger drill, and actually it's about a little under a 1/4 inch I think I picked, and just going to drill through both plates as a starting hole. Once you get that hole in, I'm just moving up to a like a 3/8 drill bit. I'm just going up a little bit at a time, trying to not load the drill down too much or anything. And you could drive I'm drilling a 3/4 inch hole in the end, and you could actually drive a 3/4 inch drill down through there with this machine, but kind of is not good for the drill bits when you don't step it up a little. And there you can see how easy it is to get the exact locations when you have a DRO on your machine. Really makes going back and doing the multiple size holes really easy. And then I'm just going to go up another drill size a little bit here, and once I start getting up into the bigger drill sizes, I just use the auto down feed on the Bridgeport, and that makes it go real easy. And trouble is sometimes it gives you one big chip you're dealing with, but here we go, we're going up just one more size. And now for the final hole, I decided to use a end mill to just kind of get an accurate location on there, and I had a slightly oversized end mill, and it fits the pin that I'm going to use in there, so that's pretty good. It's actually a little bit tight, but I can always open that up a little bit in the future. So I got those holes drilled in there now, and one thing I'm going to show you, this Evolution swarf collector that I got a while back. I really love this thing. It's been such a handy helper in the shop for picking up metal chips. And there you can see, you get done with the job, and you just run the magnet over it, and then you pull the handle out, and they all fall off in the pan for the recycling. And it does make it a very easy job to clean up. And I used to use like an air gun to blow stuff off, and it would get all over and everything, and be tough to sweep up, where this just gets anything that's metal real easy. And I went back and I had a plasma cut some pieces out, and I actually, before I started, I went back and wiggled all the connections and took them apart and put them back together to make sure that everything was cut right. And you can pretty much see that the torch actually voltage is really right on. Drops a little bit on the corners, but it's going right back, and I'm getting a real good cut today. So must have been a bad contact, like I thought, just from laying for so many months. And that's what the cut should look like when you got the voltage right on there, and get a nice clean cut with just a nice light layer of dross on the backside. And I just take an old I got this big old heavy wood chisel that I just tap it with a couple times, and just scrape it along, and it actually comes right off. Now for bending this is it's 1/4 inch stock, so I've got a little bending jig in my 20-ton press. Got that from Northern Hydraulics years ago, and it's been a real handy thing. You can bend up to like 1/2 inch thick by 2 inch wide stock with it with no problem. So this is like 5 inches wide by 1/4 inch stock, so you can see how easy it bends it. First thing you want to do is make sure that to get a good bend, everything's got to be, really in there nice and square. So you want to double check that before you even start to do anything. And once you got it square, you just have to pump on the jack. And it doesn't take a whole lot of force for a piece of stick, but if you're doing a piece of like 3/8, it would take quite a lot of weight on the jack. But you can see it really does a good job of bending. Bends it easily and gives you a nice, clean, sharp bend. So basically, this is just to reinforce the thumb, just to keep it from twisting with any side pressure on it. So I got the first bend in it, and there you can see how nice a job that die does. And then it's time to just go back and put the slight bend in the other side, which really is going to increase the strength tremendously. And so with that piece all bent up, it's time to start cleaning up the areas where I'm going to weld it into the thumb. And this was just some hot rolled steel, so I'm just going to clean it up. And so if you don't clean it up, you don't always get a good weld penetration. So you want to make sure anywhere you're welding that everything is perfectly clean. And now it's just time to go back and just tack it in place, just to start to see how it's gonna look. And you can see I've got a lot of shafts and stuff, and got it clamped together pretty good, trying to keep the alignment in place. I've only got a couple 100 pounds of CO2 argon mixture left in the tank, so I'm hoping it holds out to finish up this job, because I don't want to have to run up and get another tank of it right now. But it did in the end last. So you don't want to weld too much in any one spot. You want to kind of tack it together slowly, and try to keep things from moving too much when you're working with metal this thick, because it can warp and twist pretty easy. So there it is. I've got that first plate welded in, and just kind of setting it back on the machine to see how it lines up and everything. And this actually is kind of an oversized shaft that really fits tight, so that's why I'm kind of wiggling it to get it in and out. But just trying to get an idea to make sure we still have the proper alignment and everything. So now I'm going back and I'm putting a pivot point on a locking point on the arm of the back of the trencher there. And there you can see I'm just going to use a piece of pipe and a couple side plates to back it up. Now those polycarbide abrasive wheels I did the video about a while ago from Harbor Freight really work good for getting this powder coat off. It can be tough when you're try to take a flap wheel or anything like that, but these things do clean it up really nice, and they get all the powder coat off very easily without plugging up. So I got everything lined up here now. Everything's all cleaned up in the areas to be welded, and I'm just gonna go back and start tacking everything together to to get all my alignment right and stuff on it. And this is the fun part of the job, when it's almost 100 degrees in the shop now, and so the heat of the welding in there and having the helmet on and everything, it's there's no real fun at this point in time, but it's got to be done. So I got those those points locked in place, and there you can see with a little bit smaller pin, everything actually works good, lines up, and it's real easy to lock now. Hoping I don't have to add an extra lock on this, a bar to go back, but I really think this will work. We'll find out shortly. So now I went back, and once I knew everything worked, and I threw in a couple more 10 gauge steel plates in there, just to kind of reinforce that area, because I knew there'd be several tons of force when you lock that down. So there it is. And then I just needed one more plate plasma cut to tie everything together in the front there. So same thing, just go over, draw it up, and throw it on, program it, and take the sheet and just cuts 1/4 inch steel like butter, as you can see. That makes a real quick job of getting accurately sized plates real quick. So there it is, and there you can see the torch voltage is working perfect today, and everything's just getting a perfect cut. So real happy with that again. And this piece gets welded in the front there to reinforce that to keep it from bowing out with the pressure. And there that is all welded in place. And now I'm just gonna take a little bit of spray paint. I got some black touch-up paint. I'm gonna just throw on here for now. Someday I'm planning on painting this whole thing John Deere green, so this is just nothing fancy, and time to throw that arm back on the machine now. It's hard to believe, but this thing really is extremely heavy, so it's kind of fun to get everything lined up while you're just trying to hold it by hand and stuff, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And I have found, over the years that my hand actually does make a pretty good hammer for stuff like that. Now that I know everything's gonna line up, I'm just gonna throw that thumb in the sandblast cabinet there and just clean it up. I'm just gonna clean up the welds and the weld spatter and stuff like that. I'm not gonna, get any too fancy with it right now until I get to really try it out for a while and stuff. And like I said, I'm going to rip it all apart and paint it green someday anyway. But for now, I just, figured I'd clean it up good enough to get a coat of paint to stick to it. And the weld's good and clean. And, that's a real handy cabinet to have to keep the mess in while you're sandblasting. And then it's just a matter of throw a little bit of primer on it. That is all paint that I get from my dollar store. It's actually a good 1K epoxy primer that I get for $1 a can when they have it. And then the color of the day is a Oliver green that they had in this. It was an industrial Krylon paint that was Oliver green. So, that's what it is. Doesn't look too bad. It's a little bit different than John Deere green, but so there I got everything back together. And the paint, actually I did get a lot of paint in the holes and stuff, so I gotta get that out of there. You can see the pins kind of sticking on all the paint now, but you can pretty much see how it's gonna work. It just pins through that assembly on the arm, and it locks right up tight in the up position, so you don't even know it's really there. It's kind of out of the way, and nothing in the way. It's it shouldn't interfere with digging or anything, and it should be real nice to be able to rock it down and use it. I just pulled it outside to, just to give it a quick try. I'll be doing another video showing it better later, but for now I'm just going to, try to pick up a log that I brought outside. And I don't have it up on the outriggers or anything. It's just hooked to the back of my Kubota, so things are going to bounce around pretty good. And you can see I got my wood splitter out today too. I'm going to start splitting up my firewood shortly when I get this done. So here it is, the first time that I'm going to try using it. And it's kind of strange having that ripper tooth on there and not having a bucket on there. It looks kind of funny when you're sitting there from the operator's seat. But you can see it actually it grabs pretty good. First time I didn't grab it that good, and then I went back and I cranked down on it a little bit, and really it picked up this log no problem. I really don't want to pick up much more without the outriggers on, because you can see those little axle shafts here kind of bending down, and they're just little 2x2 tubing, so it really does bounce around a lot on the tires and stuff, but it looks like it's really going to work good. It grabs on, it holds, and it's really not in the way or anything, so and it looks like I'll be able to go down, fairly small, and pick out bushes and stuff with it also. So I think it's going to be a great addition to this little machine. Now, one thing I did find is the pin did bend slightly on the ends there. If you look at it, it was kind of tough getting out, and I realized that it's got a lot of force on it there, and it's not the best pin in the world. It's kind of a soft steel pin, so I'm going to go down to Tractor Supply next time I get out and pick up a grade 8 bolt and try that to see if that's any better. If not, I may have to drill it out and go a little bigger on the pin, but basically it looks like as long as you don't put too much tremendous force with that ripper on it. They should be good with this pin, but I think another pin, a grade 8 bolt will really work good in there, because there is a lot of force on it. And, there you can see it really does. It's a nice feature added to the machine, and it's manual, it's not automatic, but I won't use it that much anyway. So all in all, I'm real happy with the outcome, and I'll put it to a real test next time I get it out and make a video about it. But for now, this is about all the testing that I'm gonna do, and you can see it really does grip into the log. It rips right through the bark there and stuff. It does have a really good grip. Once I get it on the outriggers, I'm going to see exactly what it will wind up picking up. But for now, I just figured I'd finish up this video and show you how everything turned out, and how it looks like it's going to work. And I think it was a great addition to spend a little time making for the trencher. And I really can't wait to try ripping out a tree stump with that ripper instead of having to dig out a big hole with the bucket. We'll see how that works in the future, but I can see it as being a real handy addition too. Plus, it's just a quick switch to put the bucket back on now. I made some spacers so the bucket will slide right in there. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.